Hello, my name is Paul, and this is a video explaining the cash flow planner. Before we dig into the details of how to use it, I want to explain a couple principles first. So let's talk about steps to financial freedom. First of all, you have to have control of your monthly cash flow. In order to be able to build financial freedom and stability, you have to be able to take control of your monthly cash flow. Second, I strongly recommend building a $1,000 emergency fund. That way, when something comes up, it's not an if, it's a when. When something comes up, you will have that money to fall back on, and so you don't get stuck. Third, you want to pay off all credit card debt or other high interest rate debt. Because credit card debt, if you're making minimum monthly payments on that, you're not going to get anywhere anytime soon. But first, you want to build up that $1,000 emergency fund so that when something comes up, that way you're not going back into further credit card debt or personal loans or other high interest debt. Fourth, then you want to begin to build 3 to 6 months worth of savings. That way, if something happens to you physically or a job situation changes, that you have a true emergency fund that you can fall back on and you won't get stuck and back in a lot of debt. Fifth, I recommend consulting with a financial advisor to begin an automated retirement planning system. This is kind of where you take off and your financial stability grows and grows and grows, and you're building for long-term plans. What this is designed to do today is to kind of get you off the ground so that you take control of your cash flow that's coming in rather than it leaving all the time. And then you can begin building up to that point. Concepts. What do I say cash flow? When I'm talking about cash flow, I'm talking about money coming in and money going out. Stability, financial stability comes from taking control of your cash flow. That's the foundation to being able to build financial stability, is to have control of the flow of your money, the flow of your cash in and out of your accounts. And to take control, you have to know where the money is going. So the typical person today, I don't know, if I walk down the streets and ask somebody if they know how much they spent in restaurants or Starbucks or anything along those lines, most people have no clue how much money they spent in the last week, in the last month. Every financially successful person in our society has either figured out how to take control of their cash flow on their own, or they've hired someone to do it for them. Because if you don't have control of your money, it will control you and direct your path. Me personally, I followed Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace system, and I have adapted it and modified it. That's kind of how I learned to do all that myself. Next, we need to change how we view budgets. Personally, I don't like the term budget. It has a negative connotation that just is very constricting to me, where I like to feel free to do what I want to do and to meet the goals that I want to meet. Where budget just seems like, oh snap, I can't do this or I can't do that. So I think of it as a plan. I don't think of it as a budget. I think of it as a plan. Thus, why I call it the cash flow planner. So this is the cash flow planner Excel file. I've built it out in Excel. I have also built it out in Google Docs, or Google Sheets, if you would prefer to use it there. So I just want to go through the different stuff and introduce you to the different parts of it. So right up here at the top, you can see the cash flow planner title, and then we have different categories over here. And then I have January through December all laid out. And then you'll see a little spot over here to the right, amount from calculator, and a bunch of zeros over there for now. At the top there, the cash flow line right here is kind of how you end up at the end of each month after you have put in all the information, where you stand, positive or negative. Next, we have the total expenses, and then you'll be putting in your income, how much you made for each month. And then the different categories. I tried to standardize these as much and simplify it. And you can see at the bottom I have 3 different extra slots that you can assign for whatever you want. Starting at the top, you have mortgage and rent. Then you have groceries. So whatever you buy as far as food that you fix at home, milk, butter, bread, steaks, whatever it is that you buy for food and bring home to eat, that will fall into groceries category. The utilities category here, I have a little note there. Your water falls in that category, electricity, natural gas if you have that, cell phone, internet, garbage pickup, kind of anything along those lines that would be utilities that you need month to month to month. That may vary a little bit depending on your power usage and that sort of thing, but it's going to be a reoccurring expense that you don't have tons of control over month to month. Next, cars and insurance. So if you're making a car payment, this goes in there. Any maintenance, getting new tires, getting an oil change. Car insurance also falls in this category. The monthly payments that you do for car insurance fall in this category. Next I have is gas. I like to keep this separate just because with gas that does vary month to month, and you may take a trip across the United States. Your gas is going to be a little different. Or if you have different vehicles and you want to experiment to see how much you're saving, whether you're driving the truck or whether you're driving the Honda Civic, this will show you how much money you're saving depending on what vehicle you're driving. Next, healthcare. So I have, if your employer is not taking your health insurance out of your paycheck immediately, then your health insurance premiums would fall in here. I would also include your life insurance premiums, any co-pays that you have for doctor visits, and other health-related expenses. Anything health, I'm talking multivitamin or any other medicine that you use on a regular basis. Could be anything that you feel is related to health falls in this category. Next would be subscriptions. So Netflix, Apple, Amazon, anything along those lines falls in subscriptions or within subscriptions, but you would also put memberships in there, like your gym membership. It's a kind of a reoccurring thing that you can subscribe to it or you can get rid of it. It's kind of up to you, but you can kind of lump all those together and see how much you're spending on subscriptions. Next we have is household. So I need a new lamp for my desk in the room. That would fall under household. Or I need to get some new towels. That would be household. Anything that you feel falls with household, I would put that expense in there. Clothes, that's pretty self-explanatory. Restaurants, anything eating out. Starbucks, Applebee's, Culver's, whatever it is you like to eat out, I would put all of those in there, and I would not include that in with groceries. Entertainment, so anything you do for fun, going to the movies, and then whatever you spend along with the entertainment trip. Next would be education. So for me, my kids' educational expenses, then my wife is going back to school, so education for her. Everyone should continue to educate themselves. So in the note there you see my financial education. I strongly believe and feel that everyone should continue to develop their financial education. If you don't have a financial education of any kind, then it's going to keep you back. You won't understand how money works as well. And so I strongly recommend growing your financial education by books, videos, courses, whatever. Probably one of my favorite books that I listened to recently is called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Another good one is The Richest Man in Babylon. I really like The Richest Man in Babylon because it's in a story format and it teaches you a lot of financial principles and how to build a future and how to get off the ground. this is one of the parts that he talks about, is controlling your monthly expenses. So spending money in the next category, it's also pretty self-explanatory. Gifts. So for me, I'm a Christian. I tithe regularly. It falls in this category there. But also gifts for my mom's birthday. That falls in there. Anything along those lines. Retirement. If your employer isn't taking it out and you do it separately, it would fall right here. Transfer to savings. I strongly believe everyone should have kind of a built-in automatic transfer to savings, as well as for retirement. That way, you pay yourself first. By paying yourself first, you ensure that you continue to progressively build your savings and do so in a way that is not like suddenly you need this money, but if you've been saving all along, then you have the money there available for you. And as a side note for the savings, I recommend using a high yield or online high yield savings account. You literally, I just Google it. Google high yield online savings account and you'll come up with multiple options. Currently, this is August of 2024. I think the rate you can get online savings account with anywhere from 4.5% to a little over 5% on your interest rate. You will not get that at a brick and mortar bank store. You may get 0.1% in a savings account there. So I recommend a high yield online savings account for your emergency fund. The other categories, these three down here, I just put those as extra that you can assign however you want. You can type in, change the name to whatever you want. Now, with the expenses up here, you can see that I have formulas already put in there. That way just automatically calculates all this for you. Now, look over towards the right side of the screen. Oh wow, my fingers are backwards. The right side of the screen, amount from calculator. The calculator that this is talking about is the second tab. So if you look down the bottom left hand of the screen, category calculator, then it brings this up. It's like, whoa, this looks a little weird. So you have this empty space right over here, and then you have these two black columns with description, abbreviation, and debit. And then this is where the magic happens that makes this system so much faster and simpler, is actually on the category calculator page. And then you notice all those categories are right there, and then the total spent. So we'll come back to that in just a second. But back to the cash flow planner, you don't want to mess with the formulas. You can see they're fairly complex, except if you decide you want to rename the extra ones, then you can do so, but you also have to do so over here and rename it up in there in the formula. If you have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd love to just kind of talk you through setting that up however you want to set it up. The other thing you can do with the file here, you can see I've kind of have a color scheme there. Feel free to change it if you want to do something different. So that's just talking through the different categories and introducing the category calculator. Now I want to show you how to input your financial expenses in there. So I'm going to bring up my credit card account. We're going to use it as an example. So we're going to sign back in here. And it's loading up there. And with credit cards, I use a credit card for almost every single purchase, and then I pay the statement whenever it comes due every single month. So I don't keep a balance on there, and I pay the credit card off at the end of each month, and you can build up rewards with that. 16,000 is not that much. We just used all our our rewards on a trip recently. So I'm going to open up this. Then I'm going to scroll down. You can see expenses. I have auto pay set up with this. That way I at least pay the minimum balance and don't incur a late fee with that. And so scrolling down, you can look at different expenses. What I'm looking for, or what you want to find, is the ability to download. So I want to go here. Have they changed it recently? So again, what you're looking for is the ability to download a transaction report. For me on Capital One here, I actually have to scroll down quite a ways. Download transactions, that is what you want. So I'm going to click there. I want file type CSV for spreadsheet, Excel, numbers, blah, blah, blah. And then time period, I'm going to pick a custom date range. So for me, like a statement is going to include part of 1 month, part of the next month. I want specific dates within a month. So let's look at July. We're going to go July 1st to July 31st. And then we're going to export that. You see it downloads up here. Then we're going to open that file. And I usually do go ahead and convert this if it asks me that. Now looking at this, it's like, whoa, where are all those numbers? It's just a little weird. So you want to grab the top there, drag it over, and then it'll throw your date in there. Yep, there's that. And then I can get a little bit bigger description. Now every credit card company, every bank has a little bit different format, but they always include, excuse me. So every bank, every credit card company, they have a little bit different format with this, but they always include the date and a description and the amount. So those are the main things you want. I am going to highlight all of this, highlight all of that, and copy. So I like control functions, Control C, copy. Now I'm going to go back to the cash flow planner, and we're going to go to the category calculator down here, bottom, and then select top left, and then Control V to paste right in here. And then you see all those transactions populate right there. So then we can see everything here, and you get a good idea, and you can look up stuff and decide how you want to, or you can kind of research and figure out what each category goes to. Now, here's where the magic happens, or what makes this a lot faster rather than having to type each one of these into here one at a time, which I have done before and did for years because that's how I knew to do it. Once I developed this category calculator, it sped up this process immensely, made a massive difference. So I spend about 1 hour-ish one time a month to update my finances, and I go through it exactly like you're seeing me do here. So then to be able to put all of these into the calculator right over there, I'm going to highlight this and copy here. So Control C, scroll back up to the top, and we're going to paste it under the description. And now all those still line up, so you get a little bit more detail with the other area right there. Now that we have all the transactions posted over here in the calculator area, we need to assign them based on what each one goes by. So if you look over here, each of these abbreviations for the different categories can be seen. So for mortgage rent, you would type in rent. For groceries, type in food, utilities, utility, and it needs to be specific exactly as you see it in the abbreviation list right here, or it will not calculate it. I'll show you. So Walmart can be a little tricky. I was talking about that a second ago. Let's call this one food. So exactly as you see in the abbreviation, and then notice that it populates right over here, 702. It does it right away. Food, bam, adds both of them up together. Let's say, this one's also food. Amazon, let's call this one, let's see, we'll call it health. So health, Baptist World Mission, that is a gift. Walmart. Once again, let's call this one cars. Sam's Club, that's definitely food. Then what you want to do is go through every single one of these categories and then type the abbreviation as you see it needs to be. So I've gone through and labeled every single one of these so far: cars, utilities, subscriptions, extra one, food. These last two right here, I'm going to put as gas and gas. So now then scroll up and you can look in the category calculator area over here, and it has totaled every single one of those that you labeled right here. So you don't have to type in every single one of those numbers. It automatically calculates it right there. Now, we're going to say, these numbers aren't necessarily realistic, but we're going to say this is our total expenses for the whole month in each of those categories as we see fit. I mean, rent, it's not going to be on the credit card, so we'll type that one in. Retirement, savings. Whoa. Let's go over to the cash flow planner. Now, let me move myself out of the way a little bit here. On the right side, you see the amount from the calculator. I have it where it automatically populates over here. So all you have to do now is type it in over here. So let's say it's for January. Yeah, so let's say January. Mortgage, let's say you have $1,000 a month. So you're going to type in 1,000. Oops. A month right there. Groceries, it's 97.07. Utilities, 229.57. So you're going to go through and type each one of those in. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be back. Alright, so I have typed in each of these. I made up some numbers: $200 a month for retirement, $500 a month for savings, $1,000 a month for rent. Now, the red up here is because we do not have anything in the income spot right there. Oh, no, don't want to mess that up. So I'm going to type right there. And I get paid twice a month. So in order to add stuff within here, you want to type in equals. And then let's say I make $1,500 a paycheck twice a month. So 1,500 plus 1,500, and then you type enter. Bam. So then that's the total that I made for the month. These are all my expenses right here. That's totaled. You can see the total right there, and then that's the positive cash flow that we had for the month. So after all the expenses that we have listed there, we have $410.30 left over for the month of January based on what we see there. Now, if you have other areas like Walmart or Amazon where you have one purchase that has multiple categories, there's different ways you can put that in there. What may be the easiest way to do it, let's say it was for groceries, is just to leave that blank. So go over to the calculator. Let's find a Walmart. Let's say this one was different. You may just want to leave it blank so it doesn't show up in the calculator, and then you manually type it in. So we'll say that one's $7.02. Now it's taking it out of that. So let's update this to 90.05. And that's what we have there. Now, to add the $7.02, I'm going to split that into two different categories. Let's say $3 of that goes towards grocery. What you want to do is go up in the formula bar right up here, put it equals, so it will do the addition for you. Go to the end, and then I'll hit plus 3. See the formula there? It's going to do the math for you. Hit enter. Bam. Now, see 702 minus 3, that's 402 left, and that one, let's say it goes in healthcare. So I'm going to put equals there. Go to the end, plus 4.02. Enter. And now we're back up to the same thing that we were before. That's how you would type in split categories individually. So that's the nuts and bolts and how to get all your expenses there onto your cash flow planner. Now, there's another category I have right here, amount budgeted. It's empty right now. That is for you to decide. What I recommend doing is ideally getting like 3 months worth of expenses, and then you can kind of calculate the average right there and then put that in for the amount budgeted. Or you can decide, okay, I'm spending $300 on clothes every month and I only want to spend $150, hypothetically speaking. Then you want to type in $150 in your budget. But what that does is it allows you to see how much you're making, and then it lets you plan ahead. So let's type in some stuff. Let's do, for income, we'll stick with $3,000. Oops, not the F. So backspace that out. Mortgage, rent, that's going to be $1,000 there. Groceries, let's say we're budgeting $500 for that. Utilities, $250. Cars and insurance, $150. Gas, we're spending $100 a month in that. Healthcare, I'm just gonna go ahead and put some categories down and I'll be right back. Alright, so I've put several more amounts in for these different categories into the amount budgeted, and you can see up at the top here, the cash flow area, there's still $50 left to assign, but we don't have retirement in. Let's say we had $200 we were doing for retirement, and then $100 towards savings, and then your extra, which was a vacation category, was $100. Notice once I typed those in, it turned red and in parentheses up top because we're over the amount. The thing that we're saying we're spending, the amount we've budgeted for each one, is more than our income. So that's where brass tacks comes in. You got to figure out, what can I do? How do I balance this so that I'm not spending more, or I'm not projecting that I'm going to spend more than I'm making, because that's not sustainable. So you have to figure that out. Ideally, again, as I said earlier, I recommend getting 3 months of expenses. You could do it with one, it would work. But getting at least 3 months of expenses so you can kind of see the trends on what you're spending for each one of those, and you could actually figure out a budget for that. So that's an explanation on how the cash flow planner works. The next thing I did want to cover was step 2 of financial planning, $1,000 in savings. If you don't already have that, I strongly recommend building that up. So to do that, you want to go through the amount budgeted and make a plan for how you're going to spend your money for the month, and then staying within that plan as you go through the month. What that will let you do is you can start chunking away some money into that high yield online savings account and build up an emergency fund. Then once you build up your emergency fund with that, take that amount that you were able to put on them towards that emergency fund, and then start chunking that on your high interest debts like credit cards and that sort of thing. Pay those off. I would start with the one that has the highest interest rate and start paying that one off as fast as possible. Any extra money coming in, I will be throwing it on that to knock out all that credit card debt so that you can begin to move forward. And then I would always pay, say you're putting $200 a month on that, and you're having to do minimum payments on 2 credit cards, so that's 25 and 25. Now you have 150 that you're putting each month on the 3rd credit card. Once you pay that one off, I would move that entire 150 to the 2nd credit card. So now you only have 2. You're paying minimum monthly payments on one, and then the second one you're paying $175 now, or whatever extra you can. That same amount continues to go, and it pays that one off even faster because you have a little bit more that you're putting on it each month. Then for the last one, the full 200 goes on that one, and it gets knocked out real fast. So you kind of snowball this thing. If you look up debt snowball, you can see a lot of different videos explaining that process as well. So there it is. There's the cash flow planner, how to use it. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I would love to talk you through and problem solve with you. Great job. Great job in putting in the work towards beginning to build your own financial stability. Now that you have the system set up, it takes a lot less time to maintain that month to month. Honestly, like I said earlier, I spend 1 hour once a month to go through mine. I have 3 different credit cards, and then different Amazon things and bank statements. It takes me 1 hour once a month to go through all of that to be able to have a big picture of where my money's going for the month, and then I can continue to adjust my plans as I need to. Remember, you are capable of taking control of your cash flow if you decide you want to do it. It's up to you to keep it going.